Now we're going to talk about a new class action lawsuit about withholding millions of dollars from a number of, quote, public schools involving thousands of school children around the state. We'll get an explanation of this lawsuit from our guest.
Cameron Curry, he's the Chief Executive Officer with the Classical Academies. Cameron, welcome to the John and Ken Show.
Good morning, good evening, and good night. Thanks, guys.
I don't know what time zone you're in.
Exactly. California. We're just enjoying our Friday afternoon. It's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so there's a class action lawsuit because you're claiming that California is trying to withhold millions of dollars from hundreds of growing public schools. That's your headline. Explain what this is about.
Well, the crazy thing is it's going on is the legislature and the governor got together, passed the state budget, and basically labeled schools, public schools that are non-classroom based, which is in itself just confusing, but they're schools that offer independent study, have been really successful doing independent study for all these years, and these are the schools that are at the forefront of how to do distance learning. And so school districts, traditional schools have turned to these public charter schools saying, can you help us with our distance learning? Because you guys have been doing this forever.
Oh, so you're
the Classical Academies.
You're a public charter school at
public charter school,
okay.
Correct.
But
and
what
so sorry about that.
No. Go on. I was just trying to understand specifically what. You
totally. Yeah. So we're public charter schools, and we've been doing distance learning, personalized learning since 1999, and it's just really quite disingenuous that the state would then look at this group of schools, which there's more than 300 in the state. They serve almost 200,000 students, and parents have been clamoring to us in probably the last 6 months because they weren't well served at their traditional public school. They've heard from friends. They've heard from relatives. Oh, my gosh, Classical Academies in North San Diego County, along with, 300 other schools in the state, they know what they're doing. We want our kids there. How do we make that happen? And in the months over the summer, we picked up 1,200 new students. And with the governor's promise, hey, we're going to fund you. We're going to take care of you. Well, guess what? In the legislation that they passed at the end of August, before they closed the legislative session, they actually earmarked all kids going to these types of schools will not be funded. So I'm serving 1,200 brand new students without educational dollars. And to make it even more ridiculous, the money for those students will go to the traditional school districts who no longer serve those students.
Let me ask you something, though. If you're officially licensed as a public charter school, isn't there an absolute obligation to get public money?
Yes, because it's constitutionally guaranteed.
And that's the basis of your lawsuit?
Exactly. Because they've earmarked in this legislation that they're not going to give us money.
Now, right, for people who aren't clear,
for all these new students.
Before the pandemic hit, how would the Classical Academies, for example, how would this work? Was it distance learning?
They would get funding for every student. Yeah, they actually get money. We get money for students who arrive, complete their assignments. A credentialed teacher verifies that work has been completed. That credentialed teacher then fills out a report, and that generates the ADA. Versus a traditional public school down the street, Johnny shows up, sits in a classroom, doesn't matter if he learns a thing, because he's sitting in a seat, that public school is paid.
It says here students have the option of attending class on campus 2 to 4 days a week at the Classical Academies.
Yes.
So you
may come for a writing. Yeah, you may come for 1 class or 5 classes or 10 classes. What do you need that's going to personally benefit you in your academic program? That's what we do for kids.
You know what's weird about, and California is not the only state, is clearly a lot of public schools are complete failures. And parents increasingly are recognizing that, and they want out. And they're going to charter schools or your version of the charter school or religious schools, private schools, I mean, anything. Because, like, LA is a disaster. But no matter what happens, because we have a corrupt system where the unions pay off the legislature Legislature gives them enormous salaries and pensions. And in return, they get a cut of that in campaign donations. So the money circulates constantly back and forth between the teachers and the legislators and the local school board members. Meantime, any thinking parent that's got any kind of alternative, they're taking that alternative. And the teachers union is responding by trying, well, basically they bribed the legislator to shut the funding down to you guys.
Thinking that, hey, we'll just sell this as we're just trying to balance the budget. This is only a one-year fix. Cameron, calm down. It's only $10 million that you're going to be out of this year, but you're going to be okay. No problem.
And you suspect this is going to be a permanent cut?
Well, absolutely. What they say is a one-time fix turns out to be something they'll continue to go back to. And frankly, if we didn't stand up and we didn't stand up for our students and we didn't step forward to say enough is enough, chances are next year the governor, the legislature would go, well, Cameron took 1,200 students last year and was okay. He can do it again.
Right.
I mean, what I'm trying to understand here is if you're a public school and the Constitution requires public funding of a public school, then there's no argument they have here
to deny you the funding.
And that's why we are hopeful that the court will go over the facts. The court will see the students. The court will look at the system and say, not only is it broken, but we need to do some type of regulatory fix to make sure that this doesn't happen.
I mean, the state had to approve you as a legitimate charter public school, correct?
Correct. And they've done that time and time again because we did this in 1999 and they do it every 5 years and it's 2020 now.
So you're in no way considered a private school?
No way, shape, or form.
So what's their justification for cutting your funding?
Well, I'm sure it ties back to, the goals and the objectives of the teachers union.
Right, your competition.
The difference is, it's the competition piece, but it's also, if you just look at San Diego Unified, the pandemic hit in March. We quickly pivoted as an organization, and within just a few days, we were open, serving students, providing new content, grading, interaction with a teacher. And San Diego Unified waited 7 weeks before they even started. And even in that, they told their teachers, you don't even need to do interaction with students because, frankly, that's a contract thing, and we want to be careful with your contracts. And I mean, is this about kids or is this about adults?
Adults. It's clear this year. None of the adults in these public school systems care at all about the students. They really don't, or they wouldn't do this. All right, thanks for coming on, Cameron. Good luck with the lawsuit.
You betcha.